This video demonstrates how the ManualFit command works on the TI-84 calculator. We shall present two examples here. One example will be just the command itself, and another example will be an application of the command with a dataset. So we'll go under Stat, we'll highlight Calc, and we'll scroll until we get to ManualFit, which is usually the last command. And we'll go ahead and hit Enter. And here we can see the calculator has placed a cursor in the center of the window. Now we use the arrow keys to move the cursor to a location in the plane. So we'll go ahead and scroll a little bit to the left, and then we will scroll a little bit down, and then we'll hit Enter to say this is where my starting point is. And then I'll scroll a little bit to the right, and then after choosing the location for the starting point, we can move the cursor and obtain an ending point for our line. And we're going to go ahead and scroll up here a little bit, and then we'll hit Enter to tell the calculator this is where my line is. Now that we have a line drawn on the screen, we may adjust the slope and y-intercept accordingly. And this is accomplished in the following way. We select a value for the slope by typing it in and hitting Enter. As you can see, it's already highlighted, ready to receive a number. Then we use the arrow key to highlight the y-intercept. We select a value for the y-intercept by typing it in and hitting Enter. And if this is the plot that you want to have, you can hit second in mode, or the quit, to have this stored as y1 in your plots. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and give this line a slope of 1. And we're going to give it a y-intercept of 1 by typing in these values. Then we'll hit second in mode. That automatically stores it in the y1 slot. And this is essentially how this command works. Now we're going to apply this command in an attempt to mimic a least squares regression line with a data set. So if you look under y equals, you can see our plot is there. We'll clear that out for now. So our second example, we're going to consider the following data set. So we'll type this data in, and then we're going to try to mimic a least squares line for this data set. So we'll go ahead and hit Stat and Edit. We'll go ahead and enter in our data values. So we have the x coordinates going in L1, and then the y coordinates going in L2. Now that we have our data in, we can begin by plotting the data with a scatter plot. So we'll go ahead and do that by hitting second and y equals. We'll turn the first plot on. We'll select the scatter plot option. That's the first one under type. We'll select L1 for the X list, and we'll select L2 for the Y list. And we'll use the square as the mark because it's a little easier to see, I think. We'll use the zoom stat command to size up our window. Alright, here we have a scatter plot of our data. Now let's use that ManualFit command here. So we'll go under Stat, we'll go over to Calc, we'll highlight ManualFit, and then we're going to move the cursor until we get to a decent spot for our starting point. And I'll go ahead and start here. And then I'll move the cursor throughout the screen again until I get to an ending point that I think might or might not work. We're just going to get a sketch here, in other words. Alright, now I'm going to adjust the slope and the y-intercept so that I can use this as maybe an estimate to the least squares line. Now if you notice here, I have a line drawn here. Not a whole lot of space between the line and these data values here, but there's a lot of space, a whole lot of space between this data value in the line and this data value in the line. And that's telling me that maybe this particular line is not a very good sketch for my least squares regression line. So I'm going to type in a different line. I'm going to do a -0.2 for the slope. And I'm going to do 5.5 for the y-intercept. Okay. So this is my guess, and while I still have a little bit of space here, I don't have so much space here between these other dots. So I'm thinking this might be a better choice. So let's figure out how good my guess is, and we're actually going to compute a least squares regression line using the calculator. So we'll go back and store this. Second mode, remember, stores the manual fit equation. Now we're going to go back and see that it's here, negative 0.2x plus 5.5. There's my guess for the regression line. And there's my graph. So now we're going to compute a least squares regression line and see if I'm close. So we'll go under Stat, we'll go over to Calc, we'll go down to LinReg, option number 4 here. We'll go ahead and have it use L1 for the x coordinates list, and then L2 for the y coordinates list. And we're going to store these results in L2 and Y2. So go ahead and compute it, and then we'll hit Graph. And it looks like my guess was pretty close. Okay, let's look under the y equals menu and get a better idea. So here's my guess, negative 0.2x plus 5.5. Here's what the calculator came up with, negative 0.216 about x plus 5.405. So my guess was actually pretty close as far as guessing the linear regression line. And this is how the ManualFit command can be used on the TI-8384 calculator.